Are you beholden to anyone?
Only to the people.
President Benigno Aquino says pushing for the impeachment of former Chief Justice Renato Corona is one of the most difficult decisions of his presidency.
Feeling is because in many ways you staked your entire presidency on the impeachment trial of former Chief Justice Renato Corona.
It would be dishonest for me to say that that was really one of the focal battles for changing the status quo.
Yeah.
And the status quo has benefited several vested interests who would be worried and would have the fear of the unknown.
And while he scorns the patronage system that put Corona in power, he has been protective of friends he installed in office. Until his interview with Rappler, the palace said little about what triggered the resignation of DILG Undersecretary Rico Puno, the president's shooting buddy.
Exactly what is he being accused of, for instance, the Manila hostage crisis.
Yes.
No? He performed all of the roles that I asked of him. And the major issue had to deal with somebody who was given a set of orders, who said, yes, sir, and proceeded to do something else.
And also, I mean,
But that wasn't Rico Puno. No? And the person who I tasked to monitor this other officer didn't perform as good a job of supervising him as was expected.
you didn't ask him to resign, did you?
I told him that I said, your family might undergo again a lot of the stress because they can't get at me. They'll get to me through you, which means a lot of issues again with your mother who's not young, with your
Yes.
wife, with your children, etc. And perhaps you've already done enough.
Yes.
The president has often been criticized for his personalistic approach to appointing officials, picking from a narrow field of ex-colleagues, buddies who share his hobbies, and classmates. The same principle was at work in the appointment of Maria Lourdes Serrano as Chief Justice.
Well, there was somebody else that I also wanted to be there but wasn't on the short list. No? But I interviewed most of the candidates, I think 6 of the 8.
Yes.
And at the risk of being impolitic, I wasn't happy with the responses they gave to certain questions.
The president says he got better vibes from Serrano than the other equally qualified candidate he was eyeing for Chief Justice.
I also had to develop vibes, for want of a better word.
Yes.
Somebody comes into a room, you should be able to tell whether you can trust this person or not.
Correct.
Only in my love life is that deficient.
Aquino says his vision for the country goes back to the lessons he learned during his early years as a politician. He recalls being told by a woman who lived by the railroad tracks.
Each other. So one woman approached me and said, whoever runs doesn't really affect our lives. No? We're poor when they're running, we're poor when they're sitting in their office, and we'll probably be poor once they leave office. And it really encapsulated to me why there would be a disconnect between the populace and their government.
As a leader, he says he wants transformational change. Otherwise, political factions will just take turns at the seat of power.
Without transformational change, everything that we've struggled for and we just took our turn in the musical chairs. It would be really such a ridiculous endeavor.
The advice of the most powerful man in the Philippines to leaders: be humble, because the ability to learn determines your ability to govern. Natashya Gutierrez, Rappler, Manila.